Hello again and welcome. Today's video is not a project, it's just going to be addressing questions that I get regarding the bevel angles on turning tools. Like with most things, in most crafts or whatever, it's a very personal thing. You need to have a bevel angle which, number one, gives you a decent cut, but you also need it to be in alignment with your turning style, because everybody approaches things in a slightly different manner. There is a starting point, if you like, and in fact most manufacturers will ship their gouges, etc., at a 45-degree angle on the bevel, which for most jobs is perfectly adequate. But there are certain things, like on spindle turning, like with a spindle gouge, a 3/8 spindle gouge for example, where you want to be able to get into the tighter corners. A 45-degree angle might be not adequate for what you need to do. And what they do, and I very conveniently have taped this practice blank here, the recommended angles, and I stress they're not set in stone, they are recommended angles and a good starting point for you to experience and test various angles to see what suits you for the job in hand. The skew chisel, for example, the angles vary between 30 and 45 degrees. That's a sort of a level that they think is, or people have said, is a good angle to have. And in fact, my skews are 30 degrees, and that's 30 degrees off the horizontal. That angle there, not the included angle, it's off from the horizontal, is 30 degrees. And I find that works well for me. With a skew chisel, there are other thoughts that say it should be approximately 1.5 times more, the bevel should be 1.5 times bigger or larger than the thickness of the bar stock that your skew chisel is made from. It's all a case of experience and a case of experimentation. Spindle gouges between 30 and 35 degrees. Now my 3/8 spindle gouge is in actual fact 30 degrees. This is only approximate, and we're not talking 1 or 2 degrees either way, approximately 30 degrees. Now I have a 1/2 inch spindle gouge which I use for sort of almost like roughing out, if you like, and getting rid of wood, and that's at 45 degrees because I find it suits me better that way. And in fact I have a 3/4 inch spindle gouge which is a shallow fluted, almost continental style spindle gouge, and that as well is at 45 degrees. So I found those angles have suited me. Now bowl gouges, again, the angle's acceptable in inverted commas between 45 and 65 degrees, and again it depends on your turning style and what sort of a piece you're turning. All my bowl gouges, and I've got 2 of them, are at 60 degrees, and that suits me fine for what I need. Spindle roughing gouge, and this was the question I got in my last video, believe it or not. There wasn't a turning video, but somebody asked me what angle was my bevel on my spindle roughing gouge, and that happens to be 45 degrees. I find it works fine for me. Again, between 45 and 65 are the angles that are acceptable, but it's not a case of being acceptable, it's a case of what works for you and you're comfortable in using. So don't get too hung up about, oh, it must be this, it must be that. It doesn't have to be anything. You must find out yourself what suits you. Scrapers, well, that's a bit of a no-no for me, because I have a few scrapers and they're all negative rake, or I have a relief bevel on the top, always have done for many years now. So but the angles for scrapers are between 50 and 65, and some of mine actually fall within that range. And a parting tool, 45 degrees plus or minus, and in fact mine is 30 degrees. Again, personal preference. There is no standard rule for these angles. It is purely down to your personal taste and trial and error, basically. So hopefully that's answered some questions about the angles of your bevel. Thank you very much indeed for watching, and my next video will be a project, or it will be number 2 in the Beginner's Guide Revisited. And don't forget, on the 11th and 12th of May of this year at the Birmingham NEC here in the UK, Maker Central 2019, and as I've told you before, and no doubt will bore you by telling you again, I have the pleasure of being on the Yorkshire Grit stand with Glyn and Joanne Senior, and we look forward to seeing you and having a chat. Okay, well, until next time, thank you very much indeed for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers now.